Alright guys, so we're working on a 13 Ram 2500. It's got the 6.7 Cummins in it, and it's got a couple complaints. One of these complaints is low heat out of the dash or no heat out of the dash. I've got the truck sitting here warming up. It's almost warmed up now. It's about 165, so we'll bump the old cruise up here and get her heating up a little bit. I've got a thermocoupler in here. We'll stick it in the vent, kind of see what's going on. I've grabbed a scan tool too, see if there's any codes in the HVAC controller, and we'll kind of take it from there. So with the truck sitting here at an idle, engine temp 188, blower speed on low, we're able to get about 125. So typically if there is a flow problem through the heater core, it's going to be more evident on the higher blower speeds, simply because it'll radiate the heat quicker from the heater core. So we'll see, and usually you can tell because our temperature will drop right clean off. So I'll leave that up on high here for a few minutes where we can see we're already dropping pretty rapidly. And I can feel it, you know, it starts out nice and hot, you turn the blower speed up on high, then it drops right down, or starts to cool off very rapidly. And we can see that there. And the coolant temp on the truck stays the same, so about 190, so it is fully warmed up. 60 degrees here in the shop. I did run the blend doors through their paces. Everything works. Like I said, I don't suspect anything there. Down to about 117 right now. We'll see where this steadies out at. Looks like about 116 is where it's steadying out at. Engine fully warmed up, at an idle, blower on high, not vent. I say we go out and check our heater core hoses, see if we can learn something there. I'll try to do this the best I can. I don't know if you guys can see it. We'll check the inlet of the heater core versus the outlet. Hopefully you can see it. See what we can do. I'll holler them out to you if I got to. It's kind of a pain to get under there. Going in. It's just on the hose, mind you. Going in about 150. About 148, 149. Same. Yeah, about 147, 148. I don't know if you guys could hear me with this thing running, but our inlet and outlet temperatures seem to be about the same, you know, 150, almost 148, 147, somewhere's in there. I suspect because there is no temperature drop across them, that there's probably no flow through the heater core. So I think the most logical thing to do at this point is try to unhook those hoses. I'll let it cool down for a while here, so we got some pressure on it. Yeah, a little bit of pressure on it. You know, obviously we check to make sure the coolant stuff's full. Let it cool down a little bit, see if we can't get those unhooked, and see if we can get some flow through that heater core, and, you know, make an assessment from there and see if we, you know, gain anything. This is probably gonna make a freaking mess, I'll tell you that much. So the one heater hose fitting up here, It's held down with plastic quick connect. Cross our fingers that don't break. The other one is just a clamp. Try to get these off and get the hoses worked off them, and then we'll use our, I've got a little air pressure, water pressure tool. I think we might have used it in one video for flushing heater cores and radiators and stuff, where we can add some water and air pressure. Let's see if we can't get this hose clamp off first. A little snug. Well, the heater hose is a little bit swollen, so it doesn't want to come off the hose all the way. So we'll see if we can't crack the hose loose. Nice to get that clamp off. I had no idea how long that pipe nipple is to get this hose off. Figure what we'll do is I'll work on getting this off, and then we'll just clamp them off. We'll plug them off with some plastic stops to keep the block from draining, losing any coolant. So there she goes. Okay, that one's loose. Let that clamp go. Get the cap ready. Looks to be about the right size. Better make sure we got a little more pressure here. Hate to make that mistake, because she's still toasty. I was gonna wait a while, but I don't have a ton of time. Alright. Look at that. Minimum mess. So that hose is off. Like I say, the other one that sits back here is on a quick disconnect. And those things scare me, because you get near them and they break. So I'm going to try to just hold it with one hand, work the hose off with the other, and not pull it up off from the nipple it sits on. Simply, I just don't want it to break, so that's going to be that's my plan. Let's see here. I don't know where my light went. Lost my light already. Get under there. Oh, I can just about reach it. All this emissions crap on here. This thing ain't been deleted yet. I'm kind of surprised. Almost everybody around here has a delete kit on there. 6.7s and Duramaxes and all that stuff. Alright. Tell you what, I wonder if we can pull that. Nope. So this clamp is a little bit different style. This one comes off pretty easy. So stick that one down the hose. Let's see if I can't just work the hose loose off the quick connect fitting here. You learn pretty quick. The less you have to fiddle with something, the better off you are. That little guy feels like it's going to come right off, so let me get a, hopefully this one will cover that up, because I'm probably going to spill a little coolant. This one looks like it might be a little bit big. Dig through my assortment. There, got backup. It's not even peeing out of there, probably because it's up so high. Ow, hot. I think hotter than heck. Well, that's a little too loose anyways. Well, tell you what, it's not petering out of that one yet. So I'm not going to worry about covering it up. Maybe. We'll see if this red one fits. There we go. She's covered up. This hose is kind of short as far as getting onto it to blast it out. Maybe. Oh, it's going to make a mess. I'll tell you that. We'll drain a little bit of it out right now. I see must be somebody's already been here because this heater hose has a zip tie on it. It's supposed to go on this stud. And I see the whole transmission dipstick tube. The nut on it's loose and everything. So I don't know if somebody was over here doing some fiddling or what. So we're going to be using our super high powered water cannon. So at any rate, we've got the water valve, gives us some flow, then we got some air. Makes it pretty effective. You got to be kind of careful though. You know, our water pressure alone here is about 60 psi. So you got to be, you got to be concerned with, how much flow you put to it, particularly if you're dealing with a heater core that is plug, because I imagine at some point you can just explode it. Hang on there, little fella. And then, our air pressure is obscene here also. So what I'll do, I got a couple hose extensions I put on it. I don't clamp them. So these are just some 5/8 hose, and these are 5/8, male ends. I stick them on there. I assume, if our pressure got out of hand, these would probably just blow apart. I also don't attach them to the tool either. I just stick the nozzle of the tool up there. We're gonna flush it one way and then flush it the next. And it makes a mess, but it is what it is. So I've got both my hose extensions hooked up. We'll do the short one first. This is gonna be the inlet side. The other hose, I'd show you, because everybody's gonna be concerned with what comes out of it. Well, frankly, you can't see. It comes out. It's so turbulent from the water and the air, you really can't tell. The only way you can tell is if we got good heat when we're done. So I stick that hose pointing down because it does come out very violently. And if I get it up where you can see it, it'll be making a mess. So, but who knows, this could get extreme anyways. It's always my habit to make sure that the heater core is empty first. So I'll just put some air to it. Alright, so that way there, when you first put water to it, it doesn't completely, shock it and blow everything apart. So you gotta be careful. You should probably have some regulated air if you can't control yourself. And yes, water's gonna get on everything. It's not gonna hurt anything, so I'll start out with a little trickle of water first. And I just kind of surge it through there. Just hold it, but it just agitates is what it does. Seems to be a little more effective than just a garden hose. So I'll dig up the other hose, we'll do it the other way, and then I just slowly increase the water flow and just kind of surge it through the heater core. Exchange here. Again, before I add water to it, I just make sure that it's blown out. Add some water. Pick that hose up a little bit so they can see how it's blowing out of there. Yeah, keep coming up with it. So that's what that looks like. Alright. So that's pretty much that. I'll continue to kind of go back and forth with it until I feel that the flow is unrestricted. It doesn't feel too awful bad right now. Going that direction, I guess it would be backwards. It did seem to go a bit easier. And like I said, I'll just continue to kind of flip-flop. And then basically I just get to where I run a full stream of water through it, and I don't hit any air on it because that's a huge restriction in the system. So usually when I'm doing air, I don't do it much more. I don't use a heavier water flow than what I was just showing you, because if you go full on water, full on air, there's just too much restrictions and too much of a chance of blowing the heater core apart. When I do radiators, it's a little bit different, but the price of radiators nowadays, you don't flush much. Usually just chuck them in the trash. Let's see, this one we just did it. That is. Yeah, so that actually feels a lot better. This is the first one we did. And I can tell just by how much pressure it puts back on my hand that it's has improved some flow. So I let the hose fill up a little bit with water and then blast it through there. Seems to give it a pretty good shot. So some heater cords you just can't flush. They just don't flush well. So now I'll just stick full water to it. We can see we got water running out pretty well. We'll do it in the other direction. Water's flowing out good and clean. Like I say, very rarely can you actually see anything come out. So I'll do it one more time and we'll hook it up and see what we got. Get kind of extreme. That. Oh, she's still toasty back here. Like I say, you can use just the garden hose and then a blow nozzle, if you don't have that tool there. I'll put a link to that tool in the description. I think we carry those in our Amazon store. Shoot, is there a hook? Give me that red hook there, will you? Get our other hoses off here. Cooled down and kind of scrunched on there a little bit. Get this hook back up, let the truck warm back up, and see if we made any improvements. Hopefully we have. Say some of the Chrysler heater cores I've tried to do, like in Liberties and stuff, they don't like to flush. They don't work out well. You end up changing them. Let's get her fired back up here. We'll take our same thermocouple here. Get this down in the dash. So these things are wicked cheap. If you don't have a good thermocouple, I mean, not that this is a good one, but it's as good as any. I think these things, these are wicked cheap, like less than 30 bucks. It comes with a couple probes. This probe I had to buy separate, but again, it was super cheap. They're kind of a handy tool. We use them a lot doing AC work. verify, you know, inlet outlet temperatures of evaporators. So let's see, what are we at here? 156. We gotta wait for it to kind of heat up a little bit. We'll, whoops, get my foot off the brake, that'll work. We'll bump her up here. We'll let her get heated up. Let the air get worked out of the evaporator, or yeah, out of the heater core. And we'll see what our max reading is. So we're only at 160 right now, it's only been a minute or so. I think we've already surpassed our initial reading, and we're on the rise. Can't tell, my hands are a little bit cold. I just washed them, so they're a little damp still, but we'll let her get up to the 180, whatever it was at. I'll have to look back on the footage. What were we at, 112 or something, I guess it was? I don't know, I'll look back and see. About 176 right now, still on its way up. And out of the dash, we're about almost 140. Still on the climb here. Noticeably warmer, you know, just sticking your hand in front of the vent. A lot warmer. So I think 116, right? Is that what I already said? That was our max before, so we've already, you know, got a 20-degree increase here. All right, so it looks like the thermostat has cycled once because it came up to like 192 and then it came back down to 188. So I would say we're fully warmed up. We're holding about 145, starting to come down a little bit because I dropped the idle down. So we'll see where that steadies out at. So it seems like to hang around this 140 mark. Kind of goes up and down, I think, as coolant temperature changes. Yeah, right now we're 192. I think if we bring the idle up, you know, get a little more flow to that heater core. It's hot in here, I'll put it that way. You know, 140-degree air temperature. I was looking at Chrysler's, looking to see what their minimum spec was. They're saying for 60-degree ambient air, they want to see 144 minimum coming out of the floor vent. Of course, we can test that to see if that's any different. But I don't know if they're using, like, you know, a thermocouple or if they're using an infrared, because if we shoot this with an infrared, I imagine it's going to be a lot hotter. It's going to read hotter. I don't know why infrareds always read differently. Maybe surface temp instead of air temp, I don't know. I'm not a rocket surgeon, but we can compare the difference there. Because what are they saying? Blah, blah, blah. Use a test thermometer is all it says. Check temperature of the air being discharged from the floor outlets. But you can see we're about 144, and that's at the center vent. So we can try this. We'll put it on the floor. Oh, I got the AC on. What the thunder? Must be my scan tool bumped it. We'll see what we have at the floor to see if there is any difference. All right, so checking it at the floor. We're at 144, kind of hanging around there. That's where the truck had an idle. It's going up slowly. Like I say, you know, according to service information with our ambient temp, that is where we're supposed to be at. And I know somebody's going to ask about this as far as the infrared gun versus the thermocouple. I don't know why they read different, but I know one of you guys do, or multiple ones of you guys do, and you're going to answer that question. So right now we're at 141, but if we use infrared gun, we'll watch this. It'll probably slowly reach coolant coolant operating temperature, which right now is about 192. So we can see we're holding about 144 out the vent, but we can also see our thermal gun here is climbing. Never really looked into it. Just for accurate readings, I've always used you know, a thermocouple. So we're getting up there now. And I've got it, I don't know, a few inches away. Oh, I'm gonna turn this little guy back on. Hold on, one-handed here. So 145. And I have tested that probe, you know, in boiling water to make sure it's accurate. See there, we're getting about 180. Our coolant temp is 192. And that's going to kind of stop there about 180, it seems. Seems to be the max. Yeah, 187 was the max. Wherever we got that reading at. No, I don't have a laser. There we go. Like I said, that'll come up to coolant temperature. So we're at 190. Coolant temp is at 188. So you can see that there. For what it's worth, thermocoupler is at 147. Why? I don't know. Well, I know it's hotter than heck in here. And this guy should be pretty happy with those results, because what are we, 30 degrees warmer than we were when we started. Alright, so we'll leave it at that. I am actually cracking a sweat in here. It's hot. A whole lot hotter than it was when we started. So a couple things. First of all, the thermal gun business. Why does this read different than a thermocoupler? I know you're going to answer it, and somebody's going to save me the time from actually Googling it. But it does the same thing with, I shouldn't say that. It seems to be more accurate on the low end of the scale. So like if I use this, you know, a thermocouple and then the, you know, the infrared gun on an AC system, you know, if I got an AC system that's putting out, let's say, you know, like 38 degrees on a probe, and I check it with the infrared, it's usually within, you know, give or take a degree. So it seems to be on the heat aspect of it where it changes. I don't know. But so you'll put that in the comments. We'll share that with everybody. That'll be kind of fun to learn. Second thing is, why is the heater core plugged? Well, there's probably sediment in the cooling system, and yes, it's going to happen again. And yes, theoretically, it should have the entire cooling system flushed in order to, you know, make this short-term gain a long-term gain and make it last, because obviously it does not need a new heater core, and everything here works. So I'll suggest that to the customer. This is it is his plow truck, work truck. So, and we are getting bombed out there with snow. I assume he wants it back ASAP. The money light's on. I got to check that out, see what he's got going on with that. I see the TPMS light's on too. So I'll see if he wants that fixed also. Main concern for today is to get some heat, because it was cold, and especially when you get outside and it's only, you know, 10 degrees out, you know, the performance of the heater system naturally degraded some as a result of that. So that's it. There is no cabin air filter on this. I did look while I was waiting for it to cool down to see if that would help increase some of the airflow. But I'll be quite honest with you, now that it blows hot, the airflow thing isn't much of a concern. And without comparing it to another vehicle, another truck just like this, I don't know what the airflow is supposed to be as far as intensity. Hopefully it wasn't blowing into the microphone on the camera the whole time, so you couldn't hear us. But we'll leave it at that. So if you got no heat inside your truck, it's possible that you have a heater core that's starting to plug, or broken blend door, or, you know, a host of other things. But in this video, it was just the heater core being plugged. I'll put a link to this little guy where you can grab those. I did buy this on Amazon. It was super cheap. The hose clamp pliers I used, and the scan tool if you want to see it, maybe an infrared gun, and of course the high-powered heater core flusher. I'll make sure those are all in a link in the description, so you can pick them up yourselves if it's something that you want to use at home or in your shop. So Google+, Facebook, check us out there if you haven't done that. And just remember, viewers, if I can do it, you can do it. Thanks for watching.